Peace. I'm back here in Atlantis. I was out in Harlem, aka Mecca, for the weekend to celebrate our annual Show and Prove. Now, for those of you who've never heard of the Show and Prove, it's an annual event by us five percenters where we come together and celebrate our progress, growth, and development, and our accomplishments, especially of our youth. So the central theme of our Show and Prove is a youth science fair. So we have vendors there, we have people who are performing as far as entertainment, and it's the largest single gathering of five percenters throughout the world. And it's always the second Sunday in June, which is also in conjunction with celebrating the memory of the father who was the founder of the five percenters, who was assassinated on June 13th. So if that Sunday doesn't land on the actual 13th, then we always have our annual Show and Prove around that second weekend or that second Sunday in June. And one of the things that was very important and the reason why I consistently attend the Show and Prove is because I get an opportunity to not only to connect with my brothers and sisters who have been in this culture for some years, where we can just kind of see where we at, some of the things that we're doing, how we can share information and be a resource to each other. But I also had an opportunity to meet a lot of newborns or people who are just starting to learn about this culture who I've maybe connected with online. And that is important because oftentimes you have people who claim to be five percenters, this, that, and the third, but they never make an effort to connect with people in person. And that's a problem because when you're not connecting with people in person, there's a lot of protocols or social norms or other different things that you learn that are a part of our core values and our principles that you can't just learn on a phone, or you can't just learn watching a video or just reading an article or reading a book or anything like that. One of the things that I've consistently emphasized over the years with any of the things that I do that you see online is that they're nothing more than routing devices back to reality. So everything that I share is always evidence-based, meaning if I'm teaching preschool class, I'm going to show you some evidence that I'm literally teaching preschoolers. If I'm doing an after school program, you're going to be able to see that I'm literally doing that. If I'm doing different type of community initiatives, I'm going to have evidence of that. Everything that I do can be verified in everyday reality. And that is also the premise of showing and proving. Whatever you're saying that you're doing, you should be able to prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt. And that is also one of the reasons why some people may not come to our annual Show and Prove, because they really don't have anything to show or prove. They just live online somewhere in this void where they have these theoretical ideas about what it means to be a five percenter, but they're actually not living it. One of the things that I also saw at the Show and Prove yesterday is that there were some people that I've seen and I've known online who just didn't show up for whatever reason, and I know that there are people who had previous engagements and they may have even let people know that they're not going to be there because they have other different things that's going on. But I've also seen this segment of the population who just did not prioritize it. You see different events and things that they attend online that they proudly post and share about, like, the anniversary of the Million Man March, or they're doing different events over there and everything else. But then when it came down to the Show and Prove, they didn't show up. They didn't prioritize it. Again, I know that there's some people that had other different things going on, and that's understandable. But it's not understandable when you have people who claim to be this, who just don't prioritize it and just don't show up. And what I wanted to say to that segment of the population is, if you consider yourself a five percenter, we know that the basic tenets of living this culture is through the oral transmission of our principles and our core values. Meaning, the father walked with the firstborn who taught the next generation of five percenters who got this knowledge. They walked with them. And we've always orally transmitted these principles and core values, and that is the way in which we learn about the social norms, the protocols, the policies, the procedures, or what it just simply means to be in terms of living this cultural reality out offline. And some of you that just didn't show up, you missed out a lot. And if you consider yourself a person who has been in this nation or been a part of this culture for some years, there was a lot of newborns or people who were just coming around that could have really benefited from your insight, your guidance, your advice in terms of the terrain of living this culture. But you have to make this a priority in order to be there. That's important, So that's all I want to just take a moment and share with those of you who are not familiar with what the show and prove is, and then those of you who are familiar and just didn't come out. You missed it, and a lot of people actually missed you. So with that said, this was inspiring, empowering, and educating, and just gave those of you a little bit of more insight in terms of the show and prove. Now, for those of you who wanted to see some of the clips of the show and prove, all you need to do is, if you go on YouTube, you could probably just put in show and prove 2016, and you probably see some video footage and everything. And if you're on Facebook, also put in show and prove 2016, and you can see a lot of the images that some of the 5%ers had caught from that event yesterday. So peace and have a beautiful day.